Welcome to this session on input devices. Devices always mean hardware. They are capable of providing input to the computer, receiving output, or both. Input devices determine the nature and the capacity of information transferred. It influences the user interface design. So, a proper combination will increase the usability of the system, and an inappropriate and inadequate design will diminish the performance. Let us see about the input devices. Input devices, they help us in entering data to the computer. They capture information and translate it into a form understandable by the computer. Hence, we say that it is a link between the user and the computer. It provides data to the CPU for processing. Examples of input devices are keyboard, VDU, which is the visual display unit, mouse, light pen, scanner, and joystick. What are output devices? What does it do? It helps us in getting information from the computer. So, it converts the processed data into meaningful information to the user. It acts as a link between the computer and the user. It provides information which are understandable to the user. What are the examples of output devices? VDU, printer, plotter, and terminal. How to use the I/O devices? First of all, we need to identify what are the main I/O devices to be used. Next, we should know the important characteristics of these devices. Third, we should evaluate the suitability of the devices for particular purpose or task. Fourth, we should select an appropriate combination of I/O devices to do a specific task. Let us see some of the input devices which we use in the normal day-to-day life. Every day we use this keyboard, touch screens. This is the touchpad which is present in the mouse, webcam, stylus or light pen, joystick, trackball. We have got the mouse, and finally the scanners. We will see all of these input devices in today's session. Having seen something about the input devices and the output devices and examples of them, we will see what is that about. Input devices are the peripherals to provide data and signals to the computers. They are used for entering data as well as program into the computer for processing. So what does it do? It transforms data from the user into a form that a computer system can process together with appropriate software. What is that appropriate software? These are the device drivers which specify what should be done and how it can be done. Sometimes it is very much essential for us to identify what are the logical equivalents of the input devices. What I mean here is, mouse as well as cursor keys, they can be used for the same input tasks. We can categorize the input devices based on the input. First one is the data. Data is a collection of raw, unprocessed facts, figures, or symbols. Next is about the instructions which tell the computer what to do. So, it can be programs, which is a series of instructions to perform tasks. It can be commands which are given to execute a program or do an action. It can be in the form of a text or menu driven. It can be the user response, wherein the user issues instructions in response to a computer program. What are the different types of input? It can be data in the form of text, audio, image, or video. It can also be the instructions which are given to the computer in the form of programs, commands, and user response. All these are going to be converted by the input device and given it to the processor. The processor performs all the actions which are to be done and stores it into the computer, or it gives to the output device. Based upon the entry type, it can be further classified into manual, automatic, wireless, and intelligent detection. Based on the connection types, we have serial ports, parallel ports. Serial ports include USB. We also have FireWire, which is used in Apple machines. We also have I.Link ports, which is used in Sony machines. Having seen these input devices and its types, let us pass on to the different types of input devices. We will see keyboard, the pointing devices such as mouse, trackball, joystick, light pen, touchscreen and touchpad. We will say about the digital camera, the web camera, the scanners, the optical scanners, the speech recognition devices, the voice recognition devices and other forms of input devices and other types of input devices. Let us first see about keyboard. It looks very similar to a typewriter keyboard with some additional keys. It allows the user to input letters, numbers and symbols. Sometimes it requires pressing and holding several keys simultaneously or in a sequence. For example, when you want to soft boot the system, we use Ctrl-Alt-Del. It means Control key should be pressed first, then we should press the Alt key and then finally the Del key. Some of the common keyboard layouts are QWERTY, Dvorak, chord and alphabetic. It depends. This is classified based upon the ways in which the keys are arranged. The keyboards can be of numeric type, telephonic type or calculator type of keyboard. There are buttons which are discrete entry devices. We have also got function keys and the cursor keys. Let us see the various types of keyboards. Based upon the layout, the most widely used keyboard among the 4 types which exist is the QWERTY keyboard. It is named so because of the first 6 leftmost characters in it. Sometimes the keyboard is called as an enhanced one because it has got function keys, control keys, alt keys, number pad and arrow keys. We also have cordless keyboard which is wireless in nature. Nowadays, people predominantly started using the optical keyboards wherein we type the characters in space. Portable keyboards, they help us in using them with respect to the handheld devices. We also have ergonomic keyboards which helps us to alleviate the stress on the wrists and hands and make it more comfortable and more efficient to work. Let us see about the keyboard layout. It has got typing keys using which we can type letters, numbers or symbols. We have got the numeric keypad which is located on the right hand side of the keyboard. It consists of a set of 17 keys for doing calculations. We also have the function keys which would be there from F1 to F12 on the top of the keyboard. There can be assigned specific commands by the user or by the OS. We also have the control keys which provides cursor and screen control. To have the cursor movement, we have got 4 directional arrows to move the cursor up, down, left or right. We also have the control keys such as home, end, insert, delete, page up, page down, control, alt, escape. Some special purpose keys are also available such as enter, shift, caps lock, num lock, spacebar, tab and print screen. These are the 5 sections which are present in the keyboard. Let us see the features of the keyboard. As I told you earlier, this is the most common data entry device. The number of keys in a keyboard, it varies from 82 to 108 keys. Custom keyboards have different key arrangements than a standard keyboard, such as the ones which we use in laptops. Many system manufacturers, they add special buttons to the standard layout. What are going to be the advantages of keyboard? It needs little training and does not require any special skill. But if you have special skills, we can make it fast. It has got less maintenance and operation cost. Data entry may be a slow process because he is not a skilled personnel. Some specialist keyboards such as gaming keyboards or ergonomic keyboards are also available. Let us see the disadvantages of the keyboard. It is easy to commit mistakes because of typographical errors. It is not suitable for drawing diagrams. It is difficult for the disabled people to work with. Excessive use of the keyboard results in health problems wherein we have this RSI, which is repetitive strain injury, which is due to prolonged use of computer mouse and keyboard. And it also results in this carpal tunnel syndrome, which causes pain, numbness and tingling in the hand and arm. Let us see the working of a keyboard. Series of keys are arranged in the form of a matrix. Suppose, let us say, I wanted to connect 16 keys. It means I require 16 lines to connect all those keys. If I want to make it very efficient, then I would go for a matrix arrangement of keys, wherein to connect all the 16 keys, I would require 4 plus 4, 8 lines, 4 lines across the rows, 4 lines across the column. So, I can effectively connect all the 16 keys using 8 lines. The same kind of arrangement is present in a keyboard. So, we need to determine the location of the key pressed. It is being done by a keyboard processor. We call it as 8279, which is a programmable keyboard or display controller, which helps in analyzing the position of the key pressed. It generates a scan code and sends it to the OS. The OS then analyzes the data for any system level commands, whether it is Ctrl-Alt-Del or it forwards the information to the current application. It is also governed by a standard which is ISO 9241 standard. It means the width of the keys can be 12 to 15 mm, the key displacement can be from 1.5 to 6 mm, and the force required to press a key is in the form of newtons, which is minimum of 0.14 newtons. Having seen the keyboard, the types and the advantages and the disadvantages, we will pass on to the next set, which is the pointing devices. In some applications, it is not very convenient for us to use the keyboard. The user wants to select an item quickly from a list and communicate it to the computer by pointing to a location on the screen. In such cases, we go for the pointing devices. What are the different kinds of pointing devices? We categorize them into 3. First one is based on rolling a ball, which happens in the case of a mouse and a trackball. The second one is based on touching a surface, and the third one is based on moving a stick. Let us see all these types of pointing devices. Mouse is the mother of all pointing devices. It is a small handheld pointing device. It is rectangular shape with a rubber ball embedded at its lower side with buttons on the top. We give input commands or information to the computer through this mouse. What are the basic mouse operations which can be done? Point, click, drag and zoom. Let us see the different types of mouse. We classify the mouse based on the technology it uses. It can be a mechanical mouse as shown in figure, wherein it uses a rubber ball at the bottom surface. So, as the mouse moves, the cursor moves. This is the most common and least expensive kind of mouse. Next is the optical mouse, which is predominantly used nowadays. It uses a light beam instead of a rotating ball to detect the movements. The user rolls the mouse on a flat surface and the cursor moves on the screen in the direction of mouse movement. We have wireless mouse which is connected to the computer without wires. It uses Bluetooth, RF, infrared radio waves. So, we have a USB receiver which is plugged into the computer and it receives the signals from the cordless mouse and passes it onto the computer. So this is the optical mouse which I was talking about. So altogether, even though predominantly we say there are two types of mouse, now we say there are three types of mouse. One is the mechanical mouse, optical mouse and the wireless mouse. Let us see the benefits of using optical mouse. There are no moving parts in it, so it is less wear and low chance of failure. Dirt cannot get inside the mouse as in the case of a mechanical mouse, so there is no interference with the tracking sensors. The optical mouse doesn't require a special surface such as a mouse pad. There are two types of cursors present. One is the text cursor to enter text. The other one is the graphic cursor, which can be used for pointing as well as drawing. We can create graphic elements onto the screen to draw lines, curves and freehand shapes. It is much easier and convenient to work with a mouse compared to the keyboard. So having seen this about the keyboard, let us pass on to the trackball. Trackball resembles a ball nested in a square cradle. It is an alternative to mouse. It is like a mouse, but it is turned upside down. The ball can be rotated by fingers in any direction and the cursor moves accordingly. Rather than rolling the mouse, the ball on the top is moved by using fingers, thumbs or palm. There are various shapes, sizes and forms, but all of them have the same functionality. So there are three shapes commonly used, which is ball, button and square type of trackballs. Next is the joystick. Those who have played computer games would have necessarily used this joystick. Joysticks helps us to move in all directions. It controls the movement of the cursor. There are three types of control. One is the digital control. It allows us to have movement in a limited number of directions. That is, we can move either up, down, left or right. The next type of control is the glide control, which helps us in moving it in all the directions. That is, to have 360 degrees of rotation. Next, third one is the direct control, which is the ability to respond to the distance and speed with which the user moves the stick. It is used to control the velocity of the screen movement rather than its absolute position. This joystick is used mainly in computer games, the flight simulators and for controlling industrial robots. The next set of input device is the light pen. This is also called as mouse pen. It looks like a ballpoint pen. It is connected to a machine by a cable. Sometimes it doesn't have any kind of connection, any kind of wire. It is a handheld electro-optical pointing device. It allows the computer to determine where the pen is. It doesn't emit light, but it senses the light coming from the screen. Light coming from the screen causes the photocell to respond by generating a pulse. The electric response is transmitted to the processor and it is identified to which point the light pen is pointing. It is detected based upon the pressure or the presence of light. With the movement of light pen over the screen, we can draw lines, images, and we can also select objects on the display screen by directly pointing the objects with the pen. Next is the touch screen. It allows us to operate or make selections by simply touching the display screen. The display screen is sensitive to the touch of a finger. The input is given through the computer screen. These are all unattended systems in the sense it stores information of public interest wherein it allows people to access the stored information as per their requirement. The users touch the electronic button which are displayed on the screen, and this is the most preferred human-computer interface device, which you call it as HCI. So, the touch-sensitive displays are most widely used in the ATM machines and in the information kiosk which is present at the airport, railway station and the zoo. What are going to be the advantages of the touchscreens? There are several technologies which are used for this. It can be pressure sensitive, resistive, infrared as well as capacitive. It is faster and easier to learn than other input devices because it requires minimal training and it has got higher user acceptance. It permits us to have a direct eye coordination and no command memorization is needed. It doesn't occupy extra space and it doesn't have any moving parts. Having seen about this, we will pass on to the touchpad. Touchpad points to a computer display screen. It is alternative to the mouse. It works by sensing the user's finger movement and the downward pressure which we exert over it. It is predominantly used in laptops. Let us pass on to the digital camera. Of late, we have been using this digital camera in a wider fashion. Digital camera stores images digitally rather than recording them on a film. The picture can be downloaded to a computer system, manipulated with the editing software and can be printed. It is just a long string of ones and zeros which represent all the tiny colored dots or pixels that collectively make up the image. We use series of lenses to focus the light to create an image of the scene. Sensor converts light into electrical charges. What are the advantages of using this sort of digital camera? It is inexpensive and fast. The quality of any image can be measured by the resolution, which is the sharpness and the clearness of an image. It is measured in pixels or in pixel dimensions. For example, it can be 1024 by 768 pixels. When we have more number of pixels, it means we can achieve better quality. Normally, the picture quality is expressed in megapixel. When you want to go and buy a camera in a shop, we say this much megapixel camera. The resolution can also be measured in pixel per inch. We call it as PPI. It is the number of pixels measured vertically and horizontally. Having seen this, let us pass on to the web camera. This is to view images on the internet. It is similar to a digital camera which can capture images in digital format, and we can easily transfer the image to a computer and manipulate using graphics software. Having seen this digital camera and web camera, let us now pass on to the scanners. Sometimes essential for a picture or a text on paper to be transferred onto the computer for further manipulation. The simplest way is photograph the image, convert it into a form which can be saved onto a disk. So the scanners help in scanning the image and transforming the image so that it can be edited, manipulated, combined and later printed. It uses a light beam to scan the input data, wherein the OCR software converts the images of letters in text, and it can be edited by using a word processor. Image can be changed by using special image editing software. The quality is measured by the number of bits stored in a dot or pixel per inch. Nowadays, in the mobile devices, we have got an app called Cam Scanner, which helps us to do this kind of functionality. There are two types of scanners. One is the handheld scanner. It consists of light-emitting diodes placed over the material to be scanned. These are the light-emitting diodes. The scanner performs the scanning of the document very slowly from the top to bottom with its light on. Then the document gets converted and it can be stored as an image. The scanner has to be dragged very steadily and carefully over the document at constant speed without stopping or jerking. It is used when high accuracy is not of much importance. The size is small. It has got various resolutions of up to 800 dpi. We can also scan grayscale images or color images. The next type of scanner is the flatbed scanner. It is similar to a photocopier machine. It consists of a box which has a glass plate on its top and a lid that covers the glass plate. This is the glass plate. We have got the lid which covers the glass plate. The glass plate is used for placing the document to be scanned. The light beam is passed below the glass plate, and when it is activated, it moves from left to right horizontally. After scanning one line, beam of light moves to scan the next line. So the procedure is repeated until all the lines are scanned. Typically, this sort of scanner can scan an A4 size document within 20 seconds. It is capable of scanning both black and white as well as color images. What are going to be the advantages of this kind of flatbed scanner? It produces better quality images because of the better scanning technology. Now let us see the optical scanners. There are 4 types of optical scanners. It is optical character recognition (OCR), optical mark recognition, which is OMR, MICR, which is magnetic ink character recognition, and we have got barcode readers. What is OCR? It is optical character recognition. It scans the printed pages as images on a flatbed scanner and uses the OCR, which is optical character recognition software, to recognize the letters as ASCII text. The OCR software has got tools for both acquiring the image from a scanner and for recognizing the text. The file can be edited by using a word processor. Some of the advanced OCR systems, they read text in a large variety of fonts, but still they face certain difficulty with handwritten texts. It works best when we have the original or very clear copies of the document. Next is the OMR, which is optical mark recognition. It is a special type of optical scanner which recognizes the type of marks made by the pen or pencil. Optical mark reader is used to read the sheet. The sheet has got markings, and the OMR detects the presence of intended mark responses. These are the intended mark responses which are present in this sheet. The markings register significantly less light than the surrounding paper. These type of sheets should be some special printed forms or documents which are printed with boxes, and it can be marked with a dark pencil or ink. This is the OMR scanner. It enables high-speed reading of large quantities of data and transferring them to the computer without using a keyboard. What are the steps followed by the OMR reader? First, it scans the form, detects the presence of marks, passes this information to the computer for further processing. What are going to be the advantages of this? It has got better recognition rate than OCR because we cannot make any mistake. Sometimes fewer mistakes are made by the machines than in reading handwritten characters. Large volumes of data can be collected quickly and easily without specially trained staff. The throughput is around 1,500 to 10,000 forms per hour. What are the disadvantages? It needs accurate alignment of printing on the forms. Need paper of good quality which can reflect light. Where it is used? It is used where one out of few alternatives need to be selected and marked, especially when we check the answer sheets of the examinations which has got MCQs. MCQs are multiple choice questions. This kind of OMR sheets can also be used for course enrollment and for attendance. Let us now pass on to MICR, which is magnetic ink character recognition. It is a character recognition technology which uses special magnetic encoding printed on the bottom of a negotiable check. It is machine readable via bank reader or sorters. What does it do? It reads the visual patterns and the magnetic waveforms of the MICR encoding. It is printed using special ink which contains iron particles that can be magnetized. This is used in banks to process the checks. Numbers written at the bottom are recorded. It represents unique check numbers, bank and branch code. The characters are read by examining their shape in a matrix form and then passed on to a computer. This is the typical MICR encoding which is present in the checks. The banking industry prefers MICR compared to the OCR because of three reasons. First one is it adds extra security against forgeries. In the sense, we cannot make color copies of payroll checks nor handheld characters on a check. Next one is the reading speed is higher. Third one is it is very efficient and time saving for data processing. This is the type of MICR reader which is present in bank to read this kind of MICR encoding. Now let us move on to the next pointing device. We call it as barcode readers. This is used for reading barcoded data. It is a machine readable code which consists of parallel vertical lines of varying widths. Here we can see there are parallel vertical lines of varying widths. A barcode reader scans the codes or strips by means of reflective light. This is your barcode reader. This reads the codes or the strips by means of reflective light. It converts it into alphanumeric value and it is fed to the computer. Computer recognizes the information which is in the form of thickness and spacing of the bars. The thickness varies and the spacing between the bar also varies. What are the two types of barcode scanners? We have handheld scanners or fixed mount scanners. Handheld scanners are used to read the barcodes on stationary item. Fixed mount scanners, they read the barcode which are there on the items which are passed by the scanner. It is used for retail scanning applications which comes across the conveyor belt. It can record 5 to 7 times faster than a skilled typist and the error rate is 1 in 3 million and it reduces labor cost and revenue losses. This kind of barcode readers are used in labeling goods and numbering the books. Next is about the devices which are used for speech recognition. Speech recognition devices record spoken words using either microphone or telephone. Audio is converted into set of words and it is stored digitally. There are two factors to evaluate the speech recognition program. One is the accuracy, which is the percentage error in converting the spoken words to digital data. The second is the speed, which is the extent to which the program can keep up with the speaker. Where it is used? It is used for general dictation. Let us say I keep talking, it can even convert what all I talked. It is also used for medical transcription and it's also used in automated customer service. What are the advantages of these kind of devices used for speech recognition? The advantages of the speech recognition devices. We can have a more natural form of communication. Less training is required. It does not require hands. It is helpful for physically disabled users. What are the disadvantages? It is error prone, it is susceptible to environmental noise, and the natural language capability is not yet attainable. Speech is not suitable for all the input tasks. Having seen these speech recognition devices, we will move on to the voice recognition devices. Voice recognition technology helps us to distinguish spoken words in the sense who has spoken it. Data is entered using microphone. It does not understand the meaning of the speech. It only recognizes the input based upon predefined words. There are two types of voice recognition software. One is based on speaker dependent or speaker independent. The other is discrete or continuous speech recognition. We have sophisticated softwares which is capable of learning new words. Where it is used by people with disabilities, and it is predominantly used to ensure security and for playing games. What are the other input devices which can be used to send information to the computer? First is the biometric technology, which is used for authenticating the identity by verifying the personal characteristics, which translates the personal characteristics into a digital form, as in the case of fingerprints, hand geometry, or iris pattern. The next is gesture recognition. It is used to control devices using the movement of hand or face. It can understand gestures and execute commands based on those gestures. This is best example for gesture recognition is to control the TV based on hand movements. We also have haptic devices which helps us in creating an experience of touch by applying force, vibration or movement. If you have an haptic device and if you play football onto a computer and we click the haptic device, it gives you a feeling that you have kicked the football. We also have GPS trackers, which is a navigation device carried by a moving vehicle or a person, which tracks the movements and helps us to determine the location in real time. We also have eye trackers, which is used to get the eye positions for ensuring the point of gaze, in the sense where one is looking, and also the eye movement relative to the head. This is used to check the vision impairment while driving in the case of glaucoma patients. We also have thought trackers which are used nowadays, which is able to identify what we think and respond accordingly. So, these are the input devices which you had seen so far. We had seen all the types of input devices, and in the next session we will move on to the output devices and their types.